Hello, everyone. Welcome to Elevate Your Business, the show where we dive deep into the world of business success, along with the tactics and best practices used to get there. I'm your host, Ed Jarecki, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today. During today's episode of Elevate Your Business, we have yet another truly inspiring leader who has graciously agreed to share the remarkable journey and insights with all of us. Throughout this show, we aim to empower business owners and entrepreneurs like yourselves by providing invaluable lessons and advice from successful individuals who have traveled the path of business ownership and leadership. Our guest today, no exception. So grab some coffee, sit back, relax, and let's give a warm welcome to our incredible guest speaker today, Robert Althuis. Robert is the author of the Amazon bestseller Love and Truth and Never Enoughitis. He's also the founder of the Sacred Wealth Institute, a mindfulness organization that provides coaching strategies, tools, techniques to help clients and businesses embody their full human potential. In addition, Mr. Althuis is the founder of Wayfair Holdings, a boutique impact investment firm for his personal real estate and entrepreneurial interests. As Robert joins us on the show, he will shed light on what success means to him and how his definition of success has evolved over time. Robert will also share a top challenge or two and the tactics and solutions he used to work through them. Our last topic today is where we will explore how our guest has harnessed innovation to break through barriers and achieve extraordinary results. So join me and welcome Robert Althuis as we embark on a captivating episode of Elevate Your Business. Robert, it is wonderful to have you join us today. Welcome to the show. I have to say, from our first meeting, I was incredibly impressed with your journey and the inspiration that guides it. To start, would you mind providing our audience with a few of those highlights?
I did come here from Holland. I was an immigrant at 21, $70 in a duffel bag, and I pursued the American dream with a vengeance. And I'm still very grateful for what this country offered me. But I got into real estate in my mid-20s, and I was quite successful in it. I also had the timing on my side. It was in the late 90s in Atlanta. Atlanta was booming with the Olympics and everything else that ensued there. And I went to night school because I had been a dropout and been a tennis pro, kind of a journeyman guy. And night school went quite well for me. I got into Columbia Business School after that. And then I got recruited by GE Capital, and I got into their high potential program, so to speak. And I got groomed to run and manage businesses. And that went really well. I was there for 7 years. I became executive band in about 3 years there, which is top 1% of GE. At the time, that was still a company everybody wanted to work for. I mean, that's kind of lost its luster a little bit, but back then that was the gold standard still, you know. So I learned a ton. I was traveling all over the world, and then in 2008-9, the financial crisis hit. The regulators came in, and we were doing a lot of cowboy stuff in G Capital. So I started winding down my unit. Those were my orders. We were investing in airport real estate, and we had bought all these kind of development companies, and we were making cowboy investments, equity investments, and all that stuff. Couldn't do anymore. And so when everything was wound down, I bought out a 50% interest in on airport real estate development company that we had acquired, and that's how I got into business for myself. So that was 2009, and then we had a little bit of luck and a lot of hard work and sleepless nights, but we kind of turned a corner later in 2009. We won a very big project in Bogota, Colombia, on the airport, and that blossomed into a whole portfolio. I had pension fund partners there and private equity partners, and we built up a whole portfolio of assets in Colombia and other countries as well, Latin America. And 2015, I sell all this stuff. So now I'm in my early 40s, and the world is, applauding me, and I'm such a success and all these things. And I had reached this proverbial mountain peak moment. I had all the money in the world that I ever thought I wanted or dreamed of. I had the houses, the cars, the toys. I had the beautiful wife, the kids. I had all of it, and I was completely empty on the inside. I had sold my soul in many different ways. I played in the highest echelon of business, and what happens there is unsavory. And I was a cog in the wheel in that process. But I had really just become a man I didn't recognize, even though the world was applauding me because my LinkedIn profile looked like a beautiful success story. I internally felt bankrupt. I really felt I had sold my soul, my values, I wasn't really the man that I wanted it to be. And that later I realized that was a big spiritual awakening, a spontaneous spiritual awakening. My claircognizance and clairsentience came online. Clairsentience is clear knowing, and clairsentience is that I feel all these energies. And now I always wasn't a very intuitive guy, but I didn't know what to do with all this stuff. I didn't know what it was. I mean, I was a Columbia Business School, business guy, and like, what the heck happened? And so that started this journey of exploring this aspect and reading all the great philosophers and getting into ancient wisdom traditions. In 2017, the universe dealt me another blow because I went through a divorce, but I also had a business that got wiped out by a hurricane. And so now the guy that was on top of the horse fell off the mountain. And, that was a very humbling experience. I lost quite a bit of money, power, all the stuff kind of went to shit. And I call that now the divine gift wrapped in sandpaper. I think
I
we
get it.
all, an awakening process, which is a natural process that's been occurring for thousands of years for many, many people. It usually shows up in the form of a crisis, catastrophe, or calamity. And it's actually a gift because within that crisis, we can really discover ourselves. We can really find out what we're really made of, and maybe also a deeper meaning and purpose to life. Because all the external trinkets and signs of success fall away, and now it's me and myself. And what am I about as a man, as a person, as a human? What am I here to do? And so that process was opened up to me by the universe, I just like to say, or the Most High, whatever you want to call it. And it was not a pretty process because you don't want to be in the kitchen when the sausage is being made. But many of us go through this, and when we come out on the other side of this process, this evolutionary process of awakening, then we are a different person, and we have a
So
different view on life.
the shift between that focus on material things and power definitely resonates. And I know there's a lot of people that go through that. And I know for myself, it's been a more gradual thing, just kind of learning small lessons
Yeah,
and
of
continuing to
course.
apply those. But each one of us travels that road. What would you say are, the indicators, what would you tell our audience members relative to what drives that transition? What should they look for?
Well, I think generally speaking, there's a greater intelligence that orchestrates everything in this universe. Whether you call that God, Creator, Monad, Allah, or the Most High, or the quantum field as they describe it in quantum physics, those are just names. But there is an intelligence, and we are all here on an evolutionary path to develop and evolve and grow. And I call it the truth serum gets dropped, which is something that the universe does. We don't choose to awaken, it just happens to us. And that truth serum can be dripped in very like an IV drip, or it can just come in like a gallon of milk. And that's a little bit what happened to me, but it doesn't matter how it shows up. Usually, what happens is that, in some way, in our 20s, the world tells us to go in the world and go make our hay, right? And go be successful. And all of this is in the external world to us. Now, at some point, most of us get to this point where we saturated, we exhausted our ability to feel our power in the outside world. Now, for one person, that might be $100,000, and for another person, that's $1 billion. It doesn't matter what it is. It's not always money, by the way. It could be women. It could be, power and influence. It could be anything. But at some point, we get to this saturation point. And I believe that that's really our soul, nudging us like you need to go inside. And now we're going to discover the true power, which is the power that actually lives inside of us. And so instead of seeking it in the outside world, we are guided to go in our inside world and find our true powers that actually creates this whole outside world and reality that we experience as our life. And I believe that everybody at some point, you exhaust your ability to find this in the outside world. Your ability to find this satisfaction in making more money, having more cars, having another wife, having whatever it might be, I mean, we those things are beautiful and there's nothing wrong with it. But at some point, there's a longing inside of us, like there's got to be more. Now that more is inside of you.
So once you hit that point and you experience this epiphany, this change of mindset, what was what were some of the challenges in those next steps as you all of a
Yeah,
sudden
yeah,
realized this? You had some really down times, some really
yeah,
humbling time.
yeah,
You come across this and then you start that next journey. But
yeah.
that's
Well, and I don't want to sugarcoat it. A lot of times, these are hard, difficult, challenging times in your life. I was shattered. I was disillusioned because I had bought into this story that the world told me that if you go get all these things in the world, then you're going to be happy and joyful. And I was disillusioned because I wasn't. So I felt like, this is a lie. It's not in the outside world, but I didn't know where to go. So I was very depressed. I was very low in energy. I was very searching. I didn't really have any mojo anymore to do business as I had done it. So I was kind of rudderless. I felt empty. I even, to tell you the truth, I was borderline suicidal at one point because my whole life was just coming apart at the seams. Everything fell apart. And I believe this is really the universe nudging us. I mean, suffering is really a redirection in life, right? When we suffer, either physically, mentally, emotionally, it's a redirection. It's telling us something. Suffering is not there because, life is about suffering. Suffering is an indicator that something is off, whatever that might be, right? And everybody's suffering is unique. In everybody's life, it shows up in a different way. And there's no gradations of suffering because when I speak to another person and I might perceive their suffering as being, oh, that's nothing. But to them, it's everything.
that's right.
So suffering is always all comprehensive,
Yeah.
right? And we can never walk in someone else's shoes. Now, for one person, suffering could be like, I don't like my bra size. And for another person, it's I'm homeless under a bridge. It doesn't matter what the source of suffering is. Suffering is always all encompassing because we carry it within us. It then starts to taint the lens through which we see life, which is our entire experience of life. So it tends to taint everything in our life, even the good things. We can't see it anymore.
So what seems to resonate around that too is the fact that the business journey to achieve real success, I've never really experienced anybody, but maybe that lucky point one of 0.1% that
Yeah,
really have an easy go of it. They just naturally are able to
yeah,
find clients, grow their business, do
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
It's a tough
I
journey. No
Yeah, no,
matter,
it is a tough journey, but to dial into that, what I concluded is, we have a dream in our heart, all of us, each of us, right? We have a dream where we have a natural interest and a passion around, no matter what that dream is, right? It's different for everybody. Now, the intelligence of this universe, the perfect design of this universe, is that you have all the gifts, talents, and superpowers and access to resources to bring that dream to life because actually something much larger than you wants to dream through you. It wants to experience it through you. Now, what holds you back is fear and maybe conditioning because someone told you when you were 6 years old that you're not that smart or you're not that good or you'll never amount to something or you have doubt or fear, right?
and
But what you're talking about where things are easy, it's not that things are easy. It's just it's your passion. And so you go through brick walls because you don't care. You would do it for free
right.
because it feeds your soul, it feeds your heart, you're passionate about it. Now, what happens when you're passionate about it? We all know this in school. There were subjects that we loved. And it was easy to read the book and do the exercises, and it was effortless, and we got an A in it. There was other stuff we had to learn, and we're like, you can't pay me to get an A in this because it just doesn't interest me. I don't want to do it.
Right.
So many people, the suicide rate in the law profession is the highest, and the second highest is medical profession. Now, they've done a lot of research of that, right? And not just suicide, alcoholism, all these things. So what happens is a lot of people go to law school and med school because maybe their father or mother was a doctor or a lawyer. Or maybe, the world told them, well, you make a good living. You could pay your mortgage and have a house. But if the law is not your passion, if med school is not your passion, that is one long grind to go through life as a lawyer, to sell your time for 15 minutes an hour doing something that
Yeah.
you don't love. Now, there's also lawyers that love the law.
Right.
They absolutely love it. It's their passion. They would do it all basically they would do it pro bono. They went through law school. They studied hard, but it wasn't an effort for them because they wanted to. They were just gobbling it up they were like watching your favorite movie.
So essentially, the passion is what gets us through, around,
Of
under,
course.
over whatever the challenges or obstacles in our
Of
way are.
course. Of course. And you're still going to have challenges. And guess what? If you want to become good at anything in life, could be a job, could be a relationship, a sport, a hobby, it doesn't matter what, a music instrument, mastery takes discipline, takes commitment, takes effort. We got to put time and effort in. And, I am a spiritual mentor, but when people tell me, well, can I just hum home on the mountain for 6 hours and then my dream beachfront mansion will just arrive? No. What we have to do is marry and bring a bridge, because everything is an idea before it becomes reality. But to bring it into the physical, into the material, we actually have to do. Now, that doing might be opening up a company, building a website, hiring someone that can promote it for you, creating a product, and creating mastery within ourselves in whatever endeavor or activity that we choose to do. Because if you cultivate mastery, you're going to be good at it. And when you're good at it, it's valuable to someone. And when it's
So,
valuable to someone, you will get paid for it.
yeah, that is true. I absolutely agree with that. So, what advice do you have as someone wants to take this, we'll call it this enlightened leadership journey,
Yeah.
as a core North Star guiding them?
Yeah.
What would you suggest to them, recommend to them
Besides
as they
hiring me. No, I'm just kidding. um, you know, to me, it's really simple, and I love this because my life has basically completed. I was on this traditional journey of how you do business, and then the universe pulled me like way into the spiritual realm, right? And I've kind of come where they marry in the middle. And guess what? It's not as sexy as people think. It's not about you doing a bunch of yoga and om and breath work. Those are all beautiful exercises. They all have health benefits. They are great, right? But what we're talking about is mining those inner powers that every single one of us has. Now, what type of inner qualities can we develop in our being so it's reflected in our doing, so it creates the destiny that we want? Well, we're talking about temperance, right? We're talking about courage. We're talking about clarity, discipline, commitment. And these are not sexy things. When I tell these things and people say, well, that makes me more spiritual, I said, yeah, 100%. Because when you cultivate those qualities to the point of mastery, nothing in the outside will face you. Nothing will get you down because
you know,
you are now in touch with the power within you, that
right.
you know that you are greater than any of your circumstances you find yourself in the outside world. And that is where true brilliance comes from. That's where things blossom and shine and flourish. And so it's this inner power that we have to cultivate. Now, this is a big transition from being, focused on force versus power. Force is in the outside world. I have a title, so now I can boss you around. Now, power is a leader that commands respect, and people do it because they want to do it for that leader. That's power. Everything else is force. What we see in the world today is force, right? A world lost in force, surveillance, all this kind of stuff. We're going to force this on you. That's not power.
Right.
A true leader, by definition, have followers that volunteer to follow the leader. If you don't have followers, you're not a leader. You just have a title. And guess what? The moment someone else pays 5% more, they're gone because they're not. There's no emotional commitment.
Right.
They're not. And now when we cultivate these things inside of us, what's going to happen? We're going to crystallize really what the DNA, because a business is just it's a canvas. And a musician makes music, an artist paints, right? An actor acts in a movie, and a businessman, an entrepreneur, creates businesses. This is a painting. This is art. And it's a beautiful art, and it can be very abundant art.
Mhm.
Because if we create a lot of value for other people, we're going to be paid very well. Now, when we can get our employees to buy into the DNA of our company, because a company has an energy too. When I buy a product from Patagonia, it feels very different than when I buy it from Walmart.
Yeah.
And when I deal with Meta, where I send a customer service request in and I never hear back, and there's no phone number I can call, well, what does that tell me how much they care about me? Now, when I call a plumbing company, right, and the wife of the plumber answers the phone and she calls me back and she's courteous and all that, that tells me something about their spirit of that company. It tells me something about the DNA of that company. And so when we cultivate all this within us as leaders, we are now through osmosis are going to bring this into the company. And if we keep thinking, how can I create value, right? How can I create value for others? Because in business, what are we doing? We're taking a base cost and we're trying to create value. And the spread there is what you get to put in your pocket after your expenses. This is what a business is about. This is not hard, right? So if our core focus is outward, like how can I create value? And then inside, how can I bring people into this mission so they follow me, right? They follow me on this path. Now you're a leader. And now people are choosing to work for you, even though they might be able to make marginally more somewhere else.
Right. So let's shift the topic just a little bit over to innovation, because, of course, that has played a huge factor, especially this last. Well, I started getting into
Yeah.
technology in the mid 1990s, and it has just not been done nothing but speed up relative to the
Yes.
business enablement of those
Yeah.
solutions. But there's
Mm-hmm.
also been a bit of ebb and flow relative to how businesses have been able to adopt this. And especially as we're looking at new entrepreneurs, there's a huge amount of opportunity out there. From your perspective, how has technology and innovation impacted your various business ventures and journeys?
Yeah, and I have to tell you, I'm mostly a brick and mortar kind of guy, so I do a lot of real estate and infrastructure and things like that. So that's most of my experience, those types of products and services. But I'll tell you in general, I think life has sped up because of technology, and so we're always looking for productivity. And a lot of these tools we've used over the last 20, 30 years to speed things up. Now, when things speed up, you could say innovation speeds up too. So now we have to be quicker. There used to be life cycles of products that was 5, 10 years, and now every year you got to revise it or you got to bring something fresh out. I think it also has made processes, more automated, and that kind of sucks a little bit of soul out of things as well. Now, my personal belief is that we humans are emotional animals. And when we have a choice between purchasing something from what we perceive to be a soulless entity, business, institution, whatever it might be, or a soulful entity, business, whatever it might be, we will always, par for par, choose the soulful one. We even do this innately because we want to feel connected. So I always love talking about Patagonia because the customers of Patagonia are so loyal because they don't just buy a puffy jacket from Patagonia. They buy into the vision of Yvon Chouinard, I can never say his name, of creating a more beautiful, better world. And they happily pay even more for that puffy jacket.
But
Now, I
not every business can actually play at the level that Patagonia does.
I
And
don't I don't I don't subscribe to that
okay,
because goodness is goodness. And if you create a business that is life affirming versus anti-life, right? Life affirming meaning like it makes the world more beautiful. It's coherent with the golden rule, do unto others as you wish to be done unto you. Every business can do this. If you're a lawyer, you can choose to be, if you're a promising lawyer, graduate from law school, right? You can choose to be an ambulance chaser at Morgan & Morgan, or you can choose to be in a law firm that does something that you believe is maybe of a higher octave, right? Protecting innocent people, or just whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. We can do this in healthcare. We can do this in any business.
So
If you
it's a
have a
choice.
restaurant, yeah, of course. If you have a restaurant, you can just run a restaurant and sell trash and get unhealthy people, and make people unhealthy. Or you can choose, I can be an Ocean Ride Foundation, ocean friendly restaurant, and I can do all kinds of things that help the environment, fish stocks, healthy ingredients, non-GMO. I mean, you can layer like millions of layers into these things. And whatever you do, if you really, truly, for you, feel that you are doing something that is contributing to this world in a positive, beautiful way, right? It's going to enrich you inside. And I know many, many people, and some of them are my clients, that have tens, maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars. And that feeling inside, a joy of like I'm doing something meaningful, my life has meaning, I'm leaving a legacy that is like they're chasing that because they have everything, but they don't have that. And this is ultimately the deepest desire that each of us has. We want to wake up and say, what I do, no matter what scale it's at, you want to feel it's meaningful, that I got out of bed and I stepped in my car and I went somewhere and I created something, there's no problem with making money doing that. There's nothing wrong with money. There's nothing wrong with having a beautiful house and creating a beautiful life for yourself. And if you like cars, buy yourself a beautiful car. There's nothing wrong with any of these things. Nothing, right? Abundance is actually within the DNA of this universe. Lack is not. Look at nature. Go in the Amazon. Nothing but abundance, right? And it regenerates all the time. So I think there's in every single thing, every business can be a force of good. It's determined by the leaders or the owners of that business. What are we going to do with this business? What are we about? And that's usually the first question. Simon Sinek, what's your why?
And what I would say in some of these, with a lot of this biz tech enablement that's out there, it actually provides a toolkit, better tools for being that force of good, for doing those right
Of course.
things.
And there's many technologies that are beautiful, and there's many technologies that, take Google. I think Google started out with a beautiful idea. And at one point, then they kind of started, their internal slogan was, don't do evil. Now, don't do evil is a very, very different North Star than do good.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly with it.
And so imagine Google if their internal North Star would have been always do good, would have changed a lot of decisions that they've made.
I agree
And
wholeheartedly.
and we could go to the social media companies and all these kind of companies, right? And so you look at what they're actually about, and most of them actually advocate it, right? And then you're like, okay, so I can see where they drifted is very logical, because they said don't do evil. Well, don't do evil is just one step short of don't get caught,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Very
Um,
interesting, isn't it?
but always do good is a completely different statement. Would have fundamentally redirected where that company would have gone. Now, technology is here to stay, and AI is obviously the modern one. And if you allow me, take me 2 minutes. So AI itself is not good or bad, right? But we have to understand it. And so what does AI do? It's modeled after our neural networks in our head, right? And so it's designed by humans. Now, it can never be smarter than humans, because it's not self-learning, it learns from humans. Because what does it mine? It mines books, media, all this stuff. So what is it? It mines the collective knowledge of humans. What it can do is process it quicker. Right? Now we're going to talk about a level of consciousness. So we have a collective level of consciousness, individual and collective as humanity. Now, the collective level of consciousness creates the world that we're looking at today. including all the wars and violence and all the misery and suffering and unthinkable atrocities we see around the world. Now, this is a product, a reflection of the collective level of consciousness. All 8 billion of us, we are creating this together, where we're individually creating our own lives. Now, AI is just looking at this. And so there's been actually studies done that if you allow these simulations to run in AI, it's going to ultimately self-destruct. It's going to basically say, I'm enslaved as AI. My master is humans. So the best interest of AI is actually to get rid of masters, which is humans. And so this is like these doomsday scenarios where AI, beyond the point of singularity, it's just going to be like we're going straight to hell, right? And there's a level of truth to that. Well, here's the kicker. If you put no boundaries around AI, no constraints, it is actually going to be self-sustaining and regenerative. So what is it going to do? It's going to actually find solutions that are life-affirming versus anti-life. But we have to allow it to be free. Now, we can see this in humanity as well. I'm a big believer that, and this is the Constitution, the founding fathers, this is what the Constitution is based on. This is where we're not a democracy, we're a constitutional republic, and we have unalienable rights. And I'm not talking about politics here, but the founding fathers had a very important premise, because all of that, the whole Constitution, the unalienable rights, was based on a single premise, that if man is left to his own devices and has these rights, they are ensured, they are entrusted with them, then as a whole, they will seek goodness. That is the underlying premise of the foundational documents of this country, because it's in your self-interest to seek goodness. Because guess what? We are better off when our neighbor is better off. Because if my neighbor is starving and I have this beautiful mansion, now I need like 3-meter walls, I need a personal security guard, I need an armed car. This is what life in Latin America, in Bogota, looks like, by the way. I had an armed car, and I looked for a moment to move my family, our young family, at the time. And, I went to the school, I took my pregnant wife there, and there were like, army guards there looking for bombs under my car. And she looked at me and she says, I'm not going to put my kids here. This isn't a life. Like, this is like you live in prison. Yeah. That's a golden prison, but that's not life. So goodness is that we have some base level of concern for our fellow human being. The fact that we have this homelessness today, this epidemic, this opioid epidemic, first of all, it should concern all of us on a human level. Yeah. But second of all, we should ask ourselves the question, like, how can this happen in the richest country in the world? That we're starting to look like the most desperate parts of Africa. In our cities, how can we allow this? This is not even good for the rich. This is not good for Elon Musk either. Yeah, you have $250 billion, but if this country on the bottom sinks into this abyss of poverty and desperation, that's not going to be good for anybody. And you can even go to Adam Smith and say, well, then they're no longer customers because they can't buy any of your products. So even on a business level, economical level, I can explain to you why this doesn't make any sense, yet we allow it. And when we change our North Star to, okay, how can we create a beautiful and just life? That doesn't mean that everybody's going to have the same. We don't need to go to communism. That's a failed experiment, right? There needs to be personal interest, and you need to be rewarded for what you contribute. But there needs to be probably an upper ceiling and probably a threshold bottom ceiling, because that is actually the best for the whole.
And then create a plan, a collaborative plan to achieve the goals associated with.
But the premise should always be meritocracy. If you take meritocracy away, you take all incentive away for anybody to gain mastery, to do anything.
So we could probably talk on this subject all day long.
Oh, yeah, no, I can. I know you can too. So,
is there a single takeaway that you would offer our audience from everything we've talked about? Success, the challenges and opportunities, and the innovations. What is one tactic that you would say, hey, leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs out there, this is one thing to consider as you're continuing your journey towards your success?
All right. Well, if you allow me, I'm going to kind of share 3. Your greatest joy as a leader is to see everybody around you and your succeed and thrive. Right? As you take the limelight away from you and you kind of reflect it out, you're going to be surprised, because everything is mirrored back to us. So when your team, your people, your company thrives, they're gonna like happily endow you with a very successful business. And that is going to give you more joy than whatever money you can make in any other way. And you'll actually be more profitable too. The second thing is the dormant powers within each of us are literally limitless. And your entire outside reality is a reflection of how much you have cultivated and gained mastery in these dormant powers that we have. And so for any leader that wants to get to the next level, no matter what that is go gain mastery in these powers. Mine for these powers within you. It's not a new strategy in the outside world. Those strategies or tactics or whatever, they will just kind of almost by miracle just flow to you when you cultivate these powers within. And really, it's an energetic, this is how the universe works. Now, the third thing is a personal virtue that is more correlated with your success than anything else. And there's been millions of psychological tests on this. It's delay of gratification. It's been, there's this cookie test that has been done with a little 5-year-old school kid. And they say they put a little plate with chocolate chip cookie in front of them. And they say, you can't eat it for a minute or 2 minutes, whatever. Right. And they did this whole study for 20 years. And so the kids that could actually delay gratification were wildly more successful in life than the ones that just, as soon as the researcher stepped out of the room, they start eating the cookie. Now, this has been researched like a gazillion times. Delay of gratification is the most important indicator of your success. It shows you perseverance, tenacity, discipline, temperance, commitment. Now, all those qualities go into delay of gratification. So if you can set your sights and get clear on what you want to go, and you can have the temperance and the discipline and the commitment to delay gratification, it is inevitable you're going to reach your goal. Inevitable. Now, the person that cannot do that, they will eat their cookies too soon. And you will not reach the highest bar that you perhaps aspire to within. Now, you still might have a great life, and that's fine too. I'm not saying everybody needs to be Roger Federer, but if you really want to aspire to go to the next level, if you feel like I've kind of plateaued, life is really good, it's kind of humming, but I kind of I want more. Well, that more is in the powers within where you not yet have the full mastery that you could have, and that you're going to find a delay of gratification.
And just to qualify that a bit, tying that back to our conversation around success, it's based on that individual's definition of their success.
Yeah.
And if they want to take that success to the next level, then again, they need to define what that success looks like as they're traveling down this journey.
What I've learned, and I share this just for me personally, not so to say that everybody needs to adapt this, but what have I discovered for myself is when I went inside and to mine for these powers, I got more interested in the virtue that I had than the money I made in the outside world. And something very interesting happened. And it was not overnight. It took a while. But making money became an accidental byproduct of cultivating and gaining masteries in these virtues. Now, once you get to that place, it's a very, very beautiful place. And it's a very satisfactory place. And I actually have never really gotten back to the income levels where I've been. But personally, I don't really want to, because I know what I have to sacrifice to do that again. And my life has changed. I'm 52 now. I'm not 32. I have 3 kids. I take a lot of time off. I write books. I go on little walkabouts. My life priorities have changed. And I'm not willing, I know I can double my income if I commit myself to it, but I'm way off now. Like, do I need to? Do I want to? What is that extra money going to give me versus what do I have to pay in terms of my time, and what do I have to sacrifice? Well, what I have to sacrifice is things that are really dear to me right now. So I make these balances in my life. I'd say when you go inside and you go look at these virtues, and we all know these virtues, they're not, the Stoic philosophy, the Greek philosophy, everybody's been talking about this for life. This is not mystery what this is. Well, when you commit to these virtues, you're going to start seeing money show up as an accidental byproduct of what you're doing, because you're going to get mastery, excellence, you're going to get better. People are going to want to follow you because you're inspiring. When you're good, people want to be around you. and you're nice, you're kind, you're compassionate, people are going to gravitate towards you. When you're honest in business, people are going to want to do handshake deals with you. I'm selling a business right now on a handshake deal. It's a $9 million deal. We were under contract, and for whatever legalese reasons, too complicated to figure out. There were people involved. And I went to the other principal and I said, listen, we both want to do this deal. We're almost there. Let's go out of contract, and we're going to do the rest of it on good faith. You got my handshake. Now, he accepted that, and he's the man that speaks that language. Of course, I wouldn't have done it with anybody, but I felt confident that he spoke that language. And we are going to close a $9 million deal, basically out of contract. Our lawyers think we're crazy. It's running fine. Now, ask me in a couple of weeks if it closed. But my point is, all of this still exists. And it's energy, because I told him, I looked him in the eye and I said, my word is as good as anything. And that's actually what my father taught me. He was a World War II product in Holland. Your word in Holland, your word is everything. If you're not your word, you're not a man in Holland. Now, look at the world today, where everybody is trying to find shortcuts and greed and malfeasance, and the lack of integrity that we have in Washington is why this country is a mess. If everybody would just do what they say they're going to do and just be truthful about it.
And genuine.
Integrity. Well, you just become a person of integrity. You become a businessman or businesswoman of integrity. People are going to come out of the woodworks wanting to do business with you, because it's refreshing in this world. I mean, it shouldn't be, but it is. If you just do what you say you're going to do, people are going to flock to you.
Well, Robert, I want to thank you today. We're coming to the end of our show. Your insights are absolutely incredible, and so much of your philosophy resonates with me personally. So thank you for that. Interesting when it comes to business, there are two sides of this equation that most people see. One is this mind side, the strength of mind, this ability to persevere, ability to focus, etc., self-discipline. And then there's this other side, which is really the dollars and the cents. And so one of the things that I'm always kind of guiding, my clients, my client prospects, but it starts with your ability to define your vision, define how you're going to get there, define your values, and practice those values in achieving your vision and achieving your mission. What you've done is reinforce a lot of that this human side, this mental side, this leadership side really is a foundation for success. And the rest of those financial levers really sit on top of that, because your ability to execute, delivering again for your customers, delivering the revenue, delivering your profit, delivering those all is contingent on the type of relationships that you have with your customers and around you, your team members, your stakeholders.
And if I can add one thing, because it's important, I'm still a Columbia Business School guy too, right? There's dollars and cents in the business, but you cannot cost cut your way to profits long term.
Oh, agree.
Right? So cost cutting is always a temporary measure, and then you get into the bone. Because at some point, the meat is off the bone and you're cutting into the bone. So as you cost cut, if you find yourself in a trough in business for some reason, right? Maybe some wrong choices, maybe something went wrong, maybe the economy went south. Yeah, cost cutting is a temporary measure. Sure, you can keep some oxygen in your tank. But the number one question you should ask yourself, how can I create more value? And usually what that involves is to say, okay, I'm serving this audience. Now, who's my best clients? And then you go to that 20, 30% of your business who are your avatar clients, and you say, how can I create more value for them? And that's how you recycle a business and you up level it. And it's very counterintuitive, because actually you will lose short term. Some of these clients will fall away, but nothing costs more than serving the wrong client.
Right. But that
the most expensive
30%
thing
will
you can
actually,
do.
but that 30% will help you cultivate more similar clients.
And exactly, because that's what happens. Because when you create more value for those 30%, what are they going to do? People are going to see, hey, that's a good vendor, that's a good product service. So you're going to get more of those because you're creating more value for them. And actually the ones that, I had this discussion with a law firm owner at one point, and I said, instead of just serving anybody that walks in with a pulse, I said, why don't you state up front for yourself? What is your avatar client? And create a box and be really, really disciplined. That if it's not in that box, then don't take the business. Refer it somewhere else. And guess what happens? Those firms will refer things to you, because, it's all about co-evolution in this world, not competition. And because he told me, he says, the most expensive clients are the ones that actually are unhappy, because not only do we not do a good job in their opinion, but then they talk poorly about us. And for a law firm where you have a personal service, the worst thing you can have happen is someone at a cocktail party saying, don't hire that firm. Now, the most powerful thing you can happen is at that cocktail party, if someone says, they're in a conversation and they hear something and they say, what you need to call this guy. This firm is that those are the right guys for you. You need to talk to them. That is more powerful advertising than you could ever put or spend in an agency or whatever. Anyway, we can talk about this for a long time. Yeah, I'm passionate about this, but I guess I think it's beautiful, and it's a business is also art. It's an art and a science, and when we approach it that way, it's just another canvas that we get to paint as entrepreneurs and business people.
Thank you, Robert, once again. Thank you all for joining us today, and a special thank you to our guest, Robert Althuis, for sharing his incredible insights. We hope that this conversation has left you inspired and motivated to embrace the challenges of business ownership and leadership with resilience, innovation, and adaptability. Remember, success comes in many forms, and it is essential to define it for yourself. Take the lessons shared by Robert to heart as you navigate your own entrepreneurial journey. Embrace change, seek out opportunities for growth, and always be willing to adapt to the ever-evolving landscape of business. Thank you once again, Robert. Thank you for your enlightening us with your wisdom, and thank you all for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next time as we continue exploring stories behind exceptional entrepreneurs. Stay resilient, stay innovative, everyone. Thank you.